The message lit up my phone screen, sharp and merciless as a blade. Unreliable employees like you don't deserve a place here. You're fired. Your desk has already been cleared out. I blinked twice, thinking maybe the painkillers were distorting my vision. But no, the word stayed. Real. Final. My boss, Edward Collins, had just ended my career with a text while I lay in a hospital bed, stitches fresh, body weak. My name is Melissa Carter. I'm 36. Until that moment, I was Senior Client Director at Holstrom Analytics, a Chicago-based financial consulting firm. 7 years of my life had gone into building that division. Endless flights, sleepless nights, missed holidays, all for million-dollar clients who kept our firm alive. And now, here I was in St. Mary's Hospital, tossed aside like a broken tool. My chest clenched, not from the surgery, but from humiliation. Tears pressed hot against my eyes. How could he do this now when I was at my lowest? My family sat outside the ward, worried sick, while Edward chose this exact moment to gut me. I almost set the phone down when a low chuckle came from the next bed. The man had been wheeled in an hour earlier, pale, calm, hooked to 4. His voice was rough, edged with humor. Bad news. I turned toward him, squinting through the dull light. Mid-50s, silver at the temples, a face both tired and sharp. His admission papers had briefly sat at the foot of his bed. Daniel Whitmore. The name tugged at my memory. I just got fired, I whispered hoarsely, from a hospital bed. His brows lifted. Then he laughed once, dry and bitter. That's a special kind of cruelty. I angled my phone so he could see. His eyes scanned the message. Recognition flickered. Sympathy mixed with something sharper. Well, he said slowly, I thought this hospital stay couldn't get more interesting. The tone, measured and confident, jolted my memory. I'd seen him in Forbes. Daniel Whitmore, CEO of Arcus Partners. Our fiercest competitor. His firm had stalked our client base for years. And now, fate had placed him in the bed beside me, watching Edward's betrayal unfold. My pulse raced, not from pain, but from clarity. Edward had always been paranoid about Arcus stealing talent. He'd accused me of being too friendly with rivals. And in his arrogance, he'd handed me over to the very man he feared. Looks like your company doesn't value you, Daniel said, steady. But I bet your clients would. His words sent a shiver through me. He was right. Those relationships weren't contracts, they were trust, earned through years of sacrifice. Edward thought he could erase me with a text, but he didn't understand loyalty. I bit back the sting in my chest. Edward's message wasn't careless. It was branding. He wanted me humiliated, weak, silent, replaceable. But instead, something hardened in me. The self-pity dissolved. In its place, steel. Daniel watched, waiting. I realized this wasn't just a loss. It was a doorway. A door that opened right here, in a sterile hospital ward. I turned the phone screen toward him again. My voice was steady. Maybe it's time I stopped being loyal to the wrong people. His eyes narrowed, the hint of a smile tugging. Now that, he said, is something worth talking about. That's when I understood. Edward Collins hadn't ended me. He'd set the stage for his own downfall. The game had shifted, and this time, I wasn't playing by his rules. Morning brought the sharp scent of antiseptic and burnt coffee. My body ached, but my pride ached worse. I replayed Edward's words like a stuck record. Unreliable employees like you. 7 years I'd sacrificed. Vacations canceled, weddings missed, family moments lost, all erased with 3 sentences on a screen. I turned my head. Daniel was awake, propped against his pillows, notepad in hand. He looked more like a CEO in a meeting than a patient in recovery. His pen stopped as he sensed my eyes. You didn't sleep, he said. No, I admitted. Hard to, when your whole career just evaporates. He studied me calm, analytical. Not evaporates, he corrected. Transforms. Opportunity. I gave a dry laugh. But the thought lingered. That's one way to see it. Not spin, he corrected gently. Perspective. Tell me, Melissa, how many clients did you personally manage at Holstrom? The question struck directly. 9 major accounts. Indirectly, 25, maybe 30. And the revenue? He pressed. I froze. That was information Edward would have killed me for sharing. But then again, Edward had already discarded me. What loyalty did I owe him now? About 45 million annually, I said. Daniel's eyebrow rose slightly. And they trusted you? I thought of midnight calls with frantic CFOs, the quiet thank yous from executives after I'd pulled them back from the edge of multimillion-dollar disasters. Trust wasn't even strong enough a word. Some had tied their expansion strategies directly to my advice. They trusted me, I answered firmly. Daniel set his pen down, leaning back, studying me for a long pause. His eyes measured possibilities. Finally, he spoke. Melissa, I'll be blunt. Arcus has chased Holstrom's clients for years. What we lacked wasn't capital or strategy, it was someone like you. Someone who grasps both the numbers and the people behind them. If you walked into Arcus tomorrow, I'd guarantee you 2 things. Freedom from Edward's shadow and authority to build something of your own. My breath caught. Too sudden. Too neat. You're offering me a job? From a hospital bed. A faint smile curved his lips. Opportunities don't wait for perfect settings. You know that better than anyone. My mind spun. It felt reckless, surreal. But deep down, I knew he was right. I'd never been Edward's cog. I was the engine. And Edward had cut me loose without realizing I could power something bigger. Still, fear pressed at me. Edward will come after me. Claim non-compete. Threaten lawsuits. Daniel nodded, knowingly. Of course. Men like him always bluster. But tell me, where is Arcus headquartered? New York. Holstrom, Chicago. He spread his hands. Different jurisdictions. Courts rarely enforce non-competes when someone's fired without cause. You're free, Melissa. Freer than you think. For the first time since Edward's text, a flicker of hope rose in me. I imagined Edward's smug face when he realized his betrayal had delivered me straight to his fiercest rival. I pictured Trevor, his so-called protege, fumbling through calls he wasn't ready to handle. Daniel picked up his pen again. Think carefully. I don't want an answer out of anger, but I want you to see this moment clearly. You hold leverage. Your boss thought he ended you. He may have just launched you. A nurse entered then, adjusting 4 lines, breaking the tension. But Daniel's words stayed in my head long after. Later, I called my husband, Mark. His voice carried worry. How are you holding up? I'll survive, I said. But Mark, you won't believe who's in the bed beside me. When I told him, silence hung a beat. Then he let out a whistle. If that's not fate, I don't know what is. For the first time in days, I smiled. Maybe it was fate. Or maybe just Edward's arrogance catching up to him. Either way, the ground beneath me was shifting. That night, as the ward lights dimmed, I scrawled a list on the back of my discharge papers. Names, numbers, companies, people who trusted me. Clients who would never accept being handed to Edward's nephew or an untested replacement. When I set the pen down, the truth was sharp and undeniable. Edward hadn't just fired me. He'd freed me, and soon he would regret it. By Tuesday, I was discharged. Each step pulled at my stitches, reminding me my body wasn't ready for battle, but my mind was sharper than ever. Daniel had left the day before, but not without leaning close. My office will call. Rest, but don't waste time. Opportunities expire. His words replayed as Mark pushed me toward the hospital doors. February air cut cold across my face, but it woke me. I didn't feel discarded anymore. I felt dangerous. At home, I found an envelope taped to our apartment door. Inside, a neat handwritten note. Melissa, I meant what I said. Call this number when you're ready. Beneath it lay a card, embossed with the Arcus Partners crest. I sat at the kitchen table, card in hand. Part of me hesitated. Joining a rival meant burning bridges forever. Edward would brand me a traitor. The whispers would spread. But then I remembered his text, the cold, cruel finality of it. And I laughed, low and bitter. The bridge wasn't mine to burn. Edward had already torched it. I owed him absolutely nothing. That night, after Mark had gone to bed, I dialed the number. A composed woman's voice answered. Arcus Partners, this is Lydia. I steadied my breath. This is Melissa Carter. Daniel Whitmore asked me to call. There was a pause, then her tone warmed immediately. Of course, Miss Carter. Mr. Whitmore has been expecting you. Could you come in Thursday? Thursday, just 3 days since leaving the hospital. My body ached, but my pride refused to stall. Yes, I said. I'll be there. Thursday morning, I walked into Arcus Partners' Manhattan office. Polished marble, endless glass, the entire lobby radiated power. Lydia greeted me at reception, her smile both professional and genuine. Mr. Whitmore is waiting. Daniel sat in a conference room with the Hudson River stretching behind him. He rose when I entered, hand extended, warm as though we hadn't just shared a hospital ward. Melissa, he said, I'm glad you came. I sank into the chair, pulse racing. I don't want to waste your time. I'm not here to gossip about Holstrom. I'm here because I know my clients. They trust me. And if Edward thinks he can hand them off to someone else, he's mistaken. Daniel studied me before nodding. Good. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. He slid a folder across the table, contracts, compensation, even equity. Far richer than anything Edward had ever offered. But what made my breath catch was the title, Vice President, North American Client Strategy. This is more than I imagined, I whispered. You've been underestimated too long, Daniel said simply. I don't repeat mistakes. That afternoon I signed. My hand trembled, not with fear, but with the weight of change. The next week I called 3 trusted clients. I didn't pitch them. I told them the truth. Edward let me go. I joined Arcus, and I'd still be there for them. None hesitated. If you're at Arcus, we'll be at Arcus, one said. Another scoffed. Edward's nephew called us. We hung up. He didn't even know our timelines. By Friday, 2 firms requested formal talks with Arcus. Momentum had begun. That same afternoon, Edward's number flashed on my phone. Against my better judgment, I answered. Melissa, his voice sharp. I hear you've been making calls. Is it true? I let silence hang. Edward, you fired me. You said I was unreliable. What did you think I'd do, disappear? You're jeopardizing everything we built, he snapped. No, Edward, I said evenly. You jeopardized it when you cut loose the one person your clients trusted most. I'm just giving them a choice. His breathing sharpened. This is a mistake. You'll regret it. I hung up without answering. For the first time in years, his threats meant nothing. That night, with Arcus's folder open on my table, I realized the truth. Edward hadn't destroyed me. He had handed me leverage he could never take back. By the time I settled in at Arcus, I had a badge, a corner desk, and a legal stack waiting. Priya Kapoor, General Counsel, sat across from me. I'm here to protect you. Rules are simple. No Holstrom documents, no trade secrets, no first calls. If clients reach out, we handle it together. I nodded. Understood. She smiled. Good. Edward will claim theft, but facts matter. You were fired. Relationships aren't company property. They're human capital. For the first time since the hospital, I wasn't scrambling. I was planning. Together, we built a priority list, clients who'd written my name directly into contracts. Priya drafted a clean announcement for me to post. After 7 years at Holstrom, I'm proud to join Arcus Partners as Vice President, North American Client Strategy. No bitterness, no drama, just a change in status. When I posted it, the response was immediate. The first call came from Angela Chong at North River Manufacturing. Melissa, I just saw your update. We were told you needed extended leave and wouldn't be on our account. Is that true? I'm no longer with Holstrom. I replied carefully. I've joined Arcus. Angela didn't hesitate. Then we're invoking the key person clause. Our board signed it when we contracted. Have Arcus send a proposal. We'll move this quarter if you can guarantee continuity. Soon after, Easton Bio's COO emailed. Their note was terse and direct. We require stability and senior oversight. If Melissa Carter is no longer with Holstrom, please advise how she will continue to lead our work from Arcus. My hands shook reading it, not from fear, but from how quickly the tide had turned. By day's end, 3 more clients requested meetings. No drama, no anger, just pragmatic questions about continuity, stability, and trust. The very conversations I'd spent my career engineering. Edward, predictably, did not act pragmatically. My phone filled with missed calls from his number, followed by a terse text. Cease immediately. You are violating your non-solicit. Our counsel will be in touch. His lawyer's email arrived hot and furious. Priya drafted a calm, surgical reply. Our client was terminated without cause. Ms. Carter has not solicited. Clients contacted her after a lawful announcement. Please direct further communications to counsel. No heat, just precision. That night Mark asked softly, does he still scare you? He used to, I admitted. Now, I just feel finished with him. The next day, North River's formal termination notice landed, citing the key person clause and copying Arcus. It read like weather. Facts, not feelings. Edward finally phoned, voice brittle. What are you doing? You can't move our book. This is theft. You fired me, Edward. I said evenly. Clients are choosing. You think running to Whitmore will gut what we built? I'll see you in court. Talk to Priya, I added. You won't survive this business. He spat threats about disloyalty. I hung up. My hands trembled, but not from fear. His hold on me had evaporated. Meridian Logistics asked for a transition meeting. Valentina Morales was blunt. We were passed between junior analysts last week who couldn't answer basics. If you lead at Arcus, we'll follow. If not, we pause until we find someone who understands us. That night I got an unexpected call from Dana Patel, Holstrom's senior project manager. Her voice was urgent and low. You need to know, Edward ordered your client inbox forwarded to his nephew. He's having us reissue drafts with your name removed. He's pushing unauthorized change orders to inflate revenue. My stomach dropped. Dana, that's fraud. I know. I've logged it. I'm not protecting him, she said. Be careful. This wasn't incompetence anymore. It was desperation. By week's end, Easton Bio's termination came through, and Edward stormed Arcus lobby, demanding me. From the mezzanine, I watched him rage, face red, gestures wild. He bellowed. She's finished. Hear me? Finished. Daniel intercepted him quietly. You fired her in a hospital bed. Clients trust her, not you. They're choosing. Security escorted Edward out. He spun once, glaring up at me, eyes wild with something like panic. Words spread fast. Colleagues messaged, asking what happened. I stuck to the facts. Terminated without cause, now with Arcus. By week's end, North River signed with Arcus. Easton's counsel approved our draft. Meridian prepared to transition. Edward's voicemails swung from pleading to threats. I stopped answering. Then Dana called again. Emergency board meeting. Audit flagged unauthorized change orders. They're asking how we lost 3 anchor accounts in days. I looked at the skyline unchanged, but everything under it shifting. He's going to unravel, Dana whispered. Be ready. I am, I replied. And for the first time, I actually meant it. 2 weeks later, I was back inside Arcus New York office, standing by the wide window overlooking the skyline. The city stretched endlessly, steady and unmoved, while my phone buzzed without pause. Updates from clients, lawyers, colleagues. Hellstrom was falling apart. North River, Easton Bio, and Meridian had all finalized their departures. 2 other contracts were already mid-transfer. Every conversation sounded alike. Polite, pragmatic, firm. These weren't betrayals. They were corrections. Clients simply followed the trust we had built together over years. Dana called again, her voice heavy with fatigue. Edward is barely hanging on. The board demanded answers about revenue gaps. Auditors uncovered emails where he backdated Trevor's hire and signed off unverified expenses. It's bad, Melissa. Really bad. I closed my eyes, letting it sink in. This wasn't the ending I once pictured. A part of me believed Edward might claw his way back, or at least land somewhere. But from Dana's words, he was trapped, exposed, and everyone could see it. By Friday, the news came formally. Edward Collins was ousted as CEO. The board cited loss of confidence and failure to secure client relationships. Trevor resigned that very day, leaving a trail of frantic emails no one cared to answer. That night, Mark poured wine in our kitchen. He handed me a glass, his look thoughtful instead of celebratory. "You don't look happy," he said. I swirled the glass slowly, watching the reflection. "I'm not sure happiness fits." "Relief, maybe," he offered. "You beat him," Mark reminded me. "He fired you at your weakest point. And now look at you." I nodded, but deep down, the truth pressed hard. Bringing someone else down never feels like victory. It felt more like cleaning up chaos that never should have happened. The next morning, a call came from an unfamiliar number. Against instinct, I answered. "Melissa." Edward's voice was broken, stripped of command. "They've ruined me."
"You've ruined me."
I stayed silent. "You could have just walked away," he said, voice wavering between rage and despair. "But you had to humiliate me. After everything I gave you." I finally spoke, steady and quiet. "You gave me nothing, Edward. I earned everything. And you tried to rip it away with a text message while I was in a hospital bed. That isn't leadership. That's cowardice." The line went quiet, his breathing unsteady. Then, almost to himself, he muttered, "Maybe you're right," and hung up. That was the last time I ever heard his voice. Months passed. Arcus grew faster than we imagined. With the surge of new accounts, we opened branches in Chicago and Dallas. Daniel kept his word: autonomy, respect, and room to lead without interference. For the first time in my career, I wasn't fighting to be heard. I was simply working, and the results shouted louder than boardroom politics ever could. One evening, after a long day, I came home to find Mark cooking. Garlic and herbs filled the air. He smiled. "So, Vice President Carter, how does it feel to build something of your own?" I set down my bag, breathing in the comfort of home. "It feels different, like it finally belongs to me. Not borrowed, not conditional." He kissed my forehead. "That's because you stopped giving loyalty to people who never deserved it." His words lingered. Loyalty, my greatest strength and deepest weakness. I'd given it freely, even to those who saw it as a chain to tighten. But loyalty only matters when it's mutual. When it isn't, it becomes a prison. 6 months later, Dana messaged, "Just thought you'd want to know. Edward's been blacklisted from 3 major firms. No one will touch him." Word spreads fast. I didn't answer right away. I looked around my new office at Arcus, glass walls, the hum of a growing team, steady rhythms of work that mattered. Then I typed back, "Thank you for telling me. I hope you're doing well," and left it there. When I think back to that hospital bed, to the text that shattered the ground under me, I see now it wasn't an ending. It was the beginning. Edward thought he was discarding me. What he truly did was set me free. And the message I hold from all of it is simple. Never let someone else define your worth. Jobs, titles, companies, they vanish in a heartbeat. What lasts is your work, your integrity, the trust you build with people. Those are things no one can fire you from. Edward lost everything because he never understood that. I gained everything because I finally did.